Hello, I'm Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels. Today's project is going to be this Martin Automatic Mohawk 49A automatic fly reel. And the way this thing is supposed to work is you're supposed to have the line in it. Let's see if I can get hold of the line. Get hold of a... Yeah, let's do it the easy way. Yeah, that ain't the right one. That ain't the right one. One of these guys should be the end of the line. There it is. Oh, let it get down inside there. There we go. Okay. This is your flywheel line, and you would pull it out to do your cast. Okay, and when it comes time to retrieve it, what you would do is you would push in the button and see it winds it back in. And you can control how much tension that's going to have by tightening the spring knob over here. Okay, and that tells you how much tension you're going to have on there. Now, when you push the button, there you go. See, it'll zip back in. So I spent 2.5 to 3 hours last night trying to get this thing apart. I did finally get it apart, and I cleaned it all up, and we're going to go through it now that I actually have it freed up. It had so much corrosion in, around, up everywhere. You couldn't wind the knob hardly at all. It would turn, but barely turn. And oh, by the way, this button right here is to untension the spring. You push it down, you hold the spring, and that's going to release the pressure off of it. Okay, so if you had it wound up good, and you push this button, tension comes off of the spring. Okay, it's still a little, I haven't lubricated it well, so it's still got a little, okay, there we go. So all pressure is off of it. Now, that's how it operates. Now let's take a look at what it's going to take to open it up and clean it up. The chrome is pretty much gone off of the handle, so I'm not going to worry too much about that handle and the seat. But this is a reel that came out of that lawyer's estate, and it was really, really rough, as I said. I will eventually strip the line off of here, but not until I'm ready to put new line on it. Okay, so what we're going to do is, if you look right here, this button, and I've got to stay within the focus this time today, folks. Okay, this is the release for this ring up top. And if you look right there, you can see that it actually goes down inside the body. So if you come over here and you hook underneath it just slightly like that, you can lift up on it and then pivot it just a little bit. Let me get over here. Pivot it just enough that now we've got it up and out of that hole. See there? And now this should be able to be rotated clockwise to be removed. Okay? When you're locking it back, that's where the real problem with this one comes in, is it does not like to lock back. And you'll lock it back, and I will fight it, and I will eventually get it locked back in. But the unlock for this isn't too bad. So we're going to unlock it, pull it over, and kind of gently remove this. Okay, now this is the spring mount. Okay, and I've forgotten already. Okay, this is the spring mount. Let me see if I showed you guys how to do this right. Now you have to line up this keyway with what's inside here. And I found part of it is just kind of wiggle it around. You got to get it to line up to go back in. And sometimes you have to kind of get inside it like that. Let's see if we can get it to lock back on. There we go, down in. Okay, now when we put this back, we want this to be where that keyway was over here. So I'm going to set it back, okay, like that. And then that would lock in. Now when you want to unlock it, lift that up, and you're going to rotate this clockwise just a little bit, and then you're going to gently lift this out. And then a little bit of wiggling will get that shaft to come out of the spring mechanism. Okay, now we've got our spring mechanism. If you look at it, you'll sit here and go, well, wait a minute. We got these bent over tabs. This thing's not going to come out of there. Well, if you look really careful right here, let me get something to point with. Okay, there's the bend over tab right there. There's a bend over tab there and a bend over tab. You do not want to unbend those. Those are what lock this onto this frame. So you do not want to do that. But what you can do, we're going to go, here's the part where it's sticking out the side through the case. And what we're going to do, we're going to go to the opposite side of that, which would be over here. Okay, and if you look, we've got this lined up with that bend over tab. We'll just pick that out just a little bit. If it's not lined up on the tab, you can rotate this by taking and putting a pick in there and moving it side to side. In this case, it was lined up, so it was easy enough to do. Okay, we're going to come do the other one. There we go. We got that one. And there is our plate. Okay, now this thing here would not move at all yesterday. I put it in my cleaning tank and let it sit for hours. And ran, I think I ran 4 15-minute cycles on my ultrasonic cleaner to get all this gunk out of here. But I finally got it freed up and it's working okay. I've got it lubricated with some grease. Now, this ring just slides off of this handle. And now, this spring can be removed out of here, but I'm going to recommend that you don't. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually not going to. Chris is probably going to have a fit because I'm not going to take it out. But if you check some of my other videos, you'll find that there are places where I have taken one of these out before and put it back in. And it's really somewhat on the hazardous side. And I'd prefer not to do it again. So all right. Yeah, Chris, you knew I'd do it, didn't you? Okay. What we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and take this spring out. I'm going to recommend nobody do this, though. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to get this to lift up out of here very gently. And we want to start taking the spring up and out of here a little bit at a time. Okay? I'm going to lay it down. And I do not want this thing to pop out at me or chop off my fingers. So I probably should even have a pair of gloves on for doing this. Okay, we're going to start working this spring up and out. And the only reason I'm doing this is because I know that somebody out there is going to have one that's really crusty and rusty and needs to take this out to clean underneath it. So that's why we're going to take it out. And I'm going to recommend most of you not do that. And I'm going to pause for a second, turn on a little more light on this other side. See if I can help us see a little bit. Okay. And I'm just slowly uncoiling this up out of here. Okay. It's much like a clock spring. And if you're not careful, these things really can get away from you. Okay, like right now, it's starting to get large. And as it gets large, it's going to want to do things on its own rather than what you want it to do. Now it's trying to come out of there all on its own. So now we're having to kind of fight the battle to keep it down inside there until we're ready for it to come out, not when it wants to come out. Okay. Now, I did not take this out last night. It did a beautiful job of cleaning it in the ultrasonic parts cleaner. Okay. And yeah, see how it's trying to force its way out all on its own? I'm trying to prevent that from happening. Holding it down. And I will not be responsible for anybody getting hurt taking one of these off, because I've recommended that you don't do so. Chris says this is kind of like the crocodile hunter, where he always tells you, don't do what I do, don't do what I do, and then you finally get it done. Okay? All right. We've got a pin that holds the spring in, and that's going to be a real bear. I'm going to leave that part in. But I did find just a little bit of old dirt and grease down inside there that did not come out in the ultrasonic parts cleaner. And I'm going to take a moment to clean that out. And then I'm going to start coiling this right back in again. Okay? So, here we go. Putting the spring right back in again. Okay? Now make sure that it's going all the way down. Because if it doesn't, it's going to want to pop out. All right, let's see if I've got this in enough to get it to come back inside. And I do. Okay? Now, if you look, it's not all the way down. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the flat blade of a screwdriver and assist this in getting down where it belongs. Okay? And it's got a lot of tension on it. Okay. And I think I might even cheat this a little bit. And because it doesn't look like it's all the way in. But I think it'll be all right. I think we're in far enough. All right, so that's got that part taken care of. Now we cut in this part over here. It's got a spring in it, a really heavy spring. You can see the spring right there, and you do not want to try to take that apart. It's riveted together. If that spring is broken, well, that's pretty much the end of this. Okay, so we'll set that over to the side. This guy here, we've already cleaned it up, but I'm gonna do one last quick wipe inside. There we go. And there we go. Next thing is going to be this part right here. And this, taking the spool out of this, the first one of these I ever worked on, first automatic I did, I messed with this a lot and really threw off the tension and everything else. This is the drag for this, and you really want to leave it alone if you can. So what I did is you put a nut driver on here and you begin to turn it counterclockwise. As you're turning it counterclockwise, only while you're turning it, pull out. And that creates a tension on the nut and allows you to pull the spool up and out of the hole. Okay? And I did not clean this part yesterday, so we're going to clean it up real quick. Okay, the spool's clean, inside and out. And I did not take the line off. We're going to leave that like it is. All right, now this part I didn't take apart yesterday. All I did was put it into my ultrasonic parts cleaner. But we're going to go ahead and take it apart today to make sure that all the dirt is removed from out from under it. So we're going to pop this E-clip off. There we go. There it is. There's the E-clip. That's one. That's the one for this ratchet right here. Now we're going to lift this up a little bit and hopefully take a little of that tension off of that ratchet. Okay, there we go. We want to be able to clean the back side of that, and we're going to grease it good and put it back in here where it can operate inside here. Okay, this will allow, yeah, as we pull that down, see how that compresses the springs? Okay, that will allow us to put that back in. All right, now we're going to take the other E-clip out. At least that's my plan. There we go. That's got that E-clip out. Oh, and now the sprocket fell out too. Okay, and you kind of don't want to do that if you can help it. All right, so now we've got our release, our tension release right here. Okay, we've got this sprocket, this gear, and this is our spool release. So we're going to wipe them off real quick, get them good and clean. If this is yours, clean that up real good. All right, now I have noticed that most of these reels that are made like this are basically the same inside. So we're gonna recommend that I've tried to do different ones just so that people get used to, you know, be able to look up their particular number and see exactly how it goes. But I think most of these are pretty much the same. And now we're gonna go ahead and grease up the gear itself. Like that. Okay, put that one in. All right, this one here goes on the opposite side over here. So we're going to take and we're going to grease up that post right there. And then we're going to grease this gear, because this gear is going to ride on the spool. And now we're going to go to the inside and do the little spur gear on it. Okay, we're going to set that down inside. And then we've got to get it meshed up with that gear so that the two of them turn together. Once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and set this E-clip back in place. And snap it in. Might need pliers because it's trying to catch. There. Okay, it's got that one in. Now this one's going to be a little more difficult to do, because this one you have to get this assembly over here out of the way. Okay, so let's go ahead and grease up the post. We're going to grease up the gear underneath. And then we're going to set it back in place. But what we've got to do is as we get it to go down, we've got to move this all out of the way and get it up on top of the ratcheting. And then get this to set in to where everything now can click in together. We're going to set this last E-clip back into place and snap it back in. Like that. Okay, now that's got everything back together. There we go. Okay. Now, one last piece here for the spool assembly, all the gears and everything. That's going to be this one right here. It comes in. Oh, before I do that, make sure to run a swab through the center. We've already cleaned the shaft itself, but then we're going to go back and we're going to grease that shaft like that and grease the gear. Then we're going to set this spool back on. We're going to bring it down, and then we've got to get it. If you look, it's not doing anything now. Got to get it to go down to where it activates with the gear. Can you hear it? There you go. All right, we've got that in place. Now we're going to come back and we're going to reassemble this part. Now, this needs to be oiled good. Okay, we'll oil it. And some of this here, we'll just do a few drops across there. And as it wraps, those will spread and get on there. But now what we're also going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to grease the inside of this ring. This is the locking ring, because this thing does not want to slide in and lock into place. So we're going to give it all the assistance we can. We're going to come back to here and we're going to put some around the edge here. We can wipe any excess off when we're done. Like that. And now, this part goes back in here. The spring drops into the ring. Let it fall down inside there. Make sure it goes all the way. And then the trip release lever goes in here. And then we're going to line these up. We're going to line these grooves up, or slots up, with those notches that it has. Like that, so that it can go down. Once they've aligned a little bit, move it over just a hair, and you should be in place and locked in place, like that. Okay, with that done, we're ready to try to put this back on. And this is where this gets a little bit tricky, because we've got to get that to line up with this hole here. This hole's the easy part. Okay, we'll put a little grease there. And this hole's the easy part. It's down inside there that you got to get to line up. You got to get that part to line up with the D shape on this shaft. Okay, and what I've been doing is just kind of sitting it in there, wiggling it around until it lines up, and it's not doing it this time, so let's try again. There we go, and it fell down in place. All right, now, this is going to be in the wrong place at this point. Okay, see, I've got it in the wrong spot. Let's rotate this around, and we're going to bring it around until this latch, the one that goes in that hole right there, comes over here. Okay, now we're going to slide that down, line all of these little notches up with the holes. There we go, one on each end. And then with that in place, we've got to try to get this to lock. Now this is where it gets a little more complicated. Okay, and we're going to bring this lever back over so that when it does come over, it can lock into the slot. Okay, Tighten the spring up a little bit, see if that helps us go down and over. And so far it has not. Okay, and what I see is this guy is over too far. So let's see if we can bring him back. Okay, it's not, so we're gonna have to take it off. Let's go ahead and relieve the pressure. There we go. Let's take this back off. Okay, and look at this. Okay, see how far off we are from the center of this? When we push down on this, it has to be able to release. So it can't. So let's bring it back this way, if we can. I hate this part. There we go. Okay, let's bring it. Which way does it motor? Let's see here. This thing releases. Well, it's not releasing any direction. So let's line it up and find out what's wrong with it. Okay. 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 All right. Let's pop this back out real quick and see if we, let's see, this is the end, we want to go to this end. Okay, let's move this one back up and over. Good. Okay. Okay, it's going to want to go that direction. So it's going to go and want to go towards the notch. All right, let's try this again. Okay, slide that in. Slide this one in. All right, and let's see. This spring, there we go. It's not where it needs to be. Okay, that's good. All right, let's see where that notch, see this notch right here? That notch has to be almost exactly in between that side and that side, with a little bit more to this side. Okay, so there it is, and that's a little bit more to this side already, right where it's supposed to be, I think. So it almost looks like these have to be lined up like that. Okay, so let's try it. Everything lined up in its notch. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's see if we can get this to drop in. Okay. All right, let's try this again. There we go. Okay, now this has to be in that notch right there. See that notch? That's got to be there. Okay, push this down, push this down, this one in that hole, that one in that hole. And now bring this back over to there, and I'm going to grab it with a rag because it's pretty daggone greasy right now. Wipe it down. Okay. And let's wind it up a little bit, see if that doesn't help it go in. It's almost there. It's like a 1/16 of an inch away from going in. There, it's in. All right, finally. All right. Okay. Let's check out our winder now. There's the spring winder. Okay. There's the line being wound up. Let's see if I can find the end of the line. So far, I don't see it. Let's see it. This might be it. Nope. There it is. Okay. Let's pull out some of this nasty, nasty line. And yes, this thing desperately needs new fly line. And you can see how twisted up it is all up inside there. All right. I think I've got all the tangles out. So now let's see if we can get it to wind back in. And yes, this is some incredibly nasty fly line. There. All right, it's all wound back up inside. Now let's see if our trip release will release the handle. And it does. That takes the tension off for storage so that you're not storing it with tension on the spring. You can also do it by releasing the handle. All right, there you have the Martin Automatic Mohawk 49A automatic fishing reel, automatic fly fishing reel, and warped. You asked for it, you got it. That's another one done. That'll go over on my. I've got a group of these things I've been collecting up, and I'd really like to take them out and go fly fishing one day. Anyway, for now, that's Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, signing out.